Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host Zara Pedersen, and in today's episode we are doing an Ask Me Anything. I haven't done an Ask Me Anything episode in months at this point, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I really want to get into the habit of doing more of these because I do get a lot of questions on a regular basis, and instead of just kind of answering on a one-on-one sort of like in private messages and stuff, I do believe that the questions, like quite a lot of them are quite repetitive or like they touch on the same things. So I feel like the information that I'm sharing is relevant to more than just that one person who's asking, which is why I'm like, I need to do more Ask Me Anythings. But honestly, I kind of tend to forget to put myself out there. Like usually I do this over on Instagram, where I'll share a story on Instagram and be like, hi, I'm going to do an Ask Me Anything for the podcast. So I did that yesterday, and I've got some really good questions for today's episode, alhamdulillah. And I'm going to do my best to get through as many of them as I can. I might not be able to get through all of them just because some of them are quite big, and I know that I'm going to be rambling a lot and explaining a lot. So whatever questions I can't get to this time, inshallah, I will roll over to the next episode where I will do another Ask Me Anything, inshallah, and let's see when that will happen. But if you are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were doing an Ask Me Anything for the podcast, I really had a question that I would like to have answered, I would suggest that you go follow me over on Instagram at Manifesting Muslimah. And check up on my stories on a regular basis, because that is where I usually will announce when I do an Ask Me Anything. Now, in general, like I think I've done, like over the however long this podcast has been living for, I think I have done like a handful of Ask Me Anything. So again, as I said, I haven't done one now for quite a while, but I used to do them a little bit more regularly at one point in time, and I do want to get back on track with that. So if you guys like it and you want to ask questions, go follow me on Instagram, check my stories, because that's where I'll be sort of like asking you for the questions that I'm going to be answering in the episodes. Okay, enough rambling. Thank you to those of you who gave me feedback on the camera quality and the microphone quality. I'm rolling with the same technical gear this time around, alhamdulillah. So we're going to continue that, inshallah, unless there is any complaints. I also quite like the quality and the sound, but obviously I don't re-watch or re-listen to any of the stuff that I put out. I record it, I check that the sound is okay and that the video looks okay, but I don't watch the whole thing. I edit very, very sparingly on the audio and the video. In fact, I don't even touch it. I just literally put the intro and the outro. So I'm very much relying on you telling me if there is an issue. But yeah, I don't re-listen to any of it, so I'm just trusting that it is good enough. And that's it. All right. Okay, so where do I start? Let's start with this one. I've written them down for myself, so I have them, so I can see them on like a little bit more of a so I can choose. Okay, so let's start with this one. The first question, and by the way, all of this is going to be anonymous, just in case you are wondering. Okay, how do you apply the act of surrendering in practice? It says, how do you apply surrender in practice? But how do you apply the act of surrendering in practice? Okay, this is a great question, and I think that this is a good one to kind of get us going, because I think a lot of us, when we're thinking about, especially when I'm talking about like, oh, you should surrender more and surrender more, we think there are a lot of things that we have to do. Like, how do I do that? How does that happen? I don't know what that means. And it's very simple, actually. You just live. You just live, and you stop being so focused on the outcome. So instead of doing everything expecting certain outcomes, you do things for the enjoyment of doing it most of the time, and for you to learn as you're doing and grow with you're doing it. So let's say you ask Allah for a lot of money, and so in the surrendering aspect, you don't know where this lot of money is going to come from. It could come from a family member, it could come as a gift, it could come as a win from something, I don't know what. We're not talking lottery because haram, gambling, but it could be like maybe you entered a competition or something, and so there was that. Maybe it's recently a member got a tax return that solved sort of like an issue for her that she'd been praying about, and she didn't know that this tax return was going to come. You know, there can be a lot of different ways that, you know, this financial abundance can come into your life. But so the surrendering is basically saying, I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm trusting and surrendering to you knowing more than I do, and that you will figure it out, Ya Allah. So I'm going to go about my day doing my best to see if there is a possibility in which you're sort of like highlighting for me that it can come in. So that can mean you continue doing your work. Maybe if you are overdue a raise, that you have a conversation with your employer about potentially getting that raise. It means looking at your finances, looking at your budget, making sure that you're not just wasting money. You know, surrendering is also about, you know, creating an awareness around what you're currently doing, and then finding enjoyment in what you have as you are working on the next thing, you know, to achieve the next thing. But the surrender is really just about focusing on what you can either maintain or work on or improve in the time being, and even be grateful for as you're working for the next thing. It doesn't have to be, oh, I have to surrender so I can never think of it again, and I can never, it's nothing like that. You can still come to your dua. And if it makes you feel better, you know, repeat the same dua, maybe change a few words, whatever it might be. But ultimately, in your day-to-day, we're not so focused on it still not being here. We're not focusing on, oh, it's still not here yet. It's not here yet. I haven't got the thing yet. I haven't got the thing yet, which that would be the opposite of surrendering. It's trying to micromanage Allah and be like, it's been 2 days, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 2 months, it's been 2 years. And almost like keeping Allah on like a timeline of like, hey, by the way, you need to follow my timeline instead of your divine one. So surrender is really just living in the moment, which can be quite a difficult thing for some people, but you know, it takes practice, and the more you get into learning how to enjoy what you have today with the tawakkul that Allah will take care of the tomorrow for you, depending on what you're doing in today, the easier it becomes to surrender everything else. Okay. So that was a nice question to get in there. Okay, the next question actually goes hand in hand with the first one, because this person asks, how do we leave everything in Allah's hands? And that is the same concept of surrender. So it's the same thing. We focus on what we have and what we're doing today, and we're trusting in Allah's tomorrow, and that tomorrow will bring us the opportunities that Allah is going to introduce to us. Okay, and I'm going to use the example of money, for instance. If I want to have more money and I'm asking Allah for money, then I make sure that I'm looking after the money that I have today by, for instance, as I said, looking at our budgets, making sure we're not overspending on stupid stuff, or making sure that I'm taking care of my debt. If somebody has lent me a lot of money, that I'm also making sure that I'm paying that person back. That, you know, that I'm not so frugal with my money that you know, it's becoming an issue for me or for the people around me. So the way that we leave everything in Allah's hands is by controlling what is within our control, and then trusting the outcome of that to be in Allah's, that Allah will take care of the rest. So yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand with, as I said, the first question. But just so you know, if you're the one who asked that question, that has now been answered within this question for you as well. Okay. Let's take another one. Let's do, I'm like looking at all of them. I'm just going to take them like this. I tried to get closer to Allah, but He didn't respond. Now what? So the question is, I tried to get closer to Allah, but He didn't respond. Now what? So this is a big question. So first of all, alhamdulillah, you tried to get closer to Allah. Here's the thing, Allah always responds. But the way we want Allah to respond is not always the way that Allah is going to respond. So our expectation of what the response could look like, or should look, what we think it should look like, is not always the way that Allah is going to respond. So of course, I don't know what kind of expectations you have for Allah responding to you trying to get closer to Him, but trust and believe that Allah always responds. That is one of the promises that he has made to us. Continue moving closer to Allah. Sometimes Allah makes things a little bit harder for us. Sometimes there'll be little obstacles in our environment that makes it difficult for us to understand that we are in fact moving closer to Allah. And it is our job to stay focused. It is our job to stay vigilant, to look for Allah in everything. And it's one of the things that that I've taught in, I did like a course called Seeking Allah, like a live event, and I'm probably going to do that again inshallah, called Seeking Allah, where it's about reestablishing the relationship with Allah, is that this is something that we have to do throughout our lives. We always have to look at connecting more with Allah and creating a closeness with Allah and a stronger relationship with Allah. And again, it is not Allah's responsibility to respond in the way that, you know, we want him to respond, but Allah is always responding. And one of the things that we have to get good at is seeing Allah in everything. Seeing Allah in everything that we do, everything that happens for us, everything that happens around us. One thing that I've been doing, and I'm going to sound a little woo-woo here, maybe a little too woo-woo for some of your likings, but it is what it is. Like I'm my hippie dad's daughter, so I carry some of those hippie traits quite a bit in me. When I lately, like in the last sort of like week, I've been quite stressed with a lot of other things, sort of like my work at the veterinary and stuff like that. And every day before I've gone into work, I'll either see a dragonfly or a big butterfly, and it'll fly right in front of me and it'll kind of hover in front of me so that I can enjoy its beauty. I think both of them are absolutely beautiful, dragonflies and butterflies. And some of them have sort of like rested. There was this one time where I was literally opening the door to the ambulatory, to the clinic, and it sat on the door, the butterfly, big, I think it's like a monarch, I think it's called, butterfly, right on the door, right in front of me, and it just stayed there. And it was just doing that thing with the wings where it slowly opens and closes them. So I got to see all the beautiful, intricate details of this butterfly as it was just sitting there. And I just took that moment to just stand in absolute awe of Allah's creation and how wonderfully blessed I felt in that moment. And I remember just thinking, you know, alhamdulillah, Allah knew that, you know, I'm going into work and it might be a little stressful, it might be busy, all of these things. And he just gave me this moment of beauty in every day to remind myself, to keep myself grounded, to stay grateful. And the reason why I'm using this as an example is because all of these examples, like with the dragonflies and the butterflies that I've been seeing in the last sort of week or so, I could have ignored and been like, oh, it's summer, of course there's butterflies. But I live in a city that, like, there are not that many big butterflies or big dragonflies. They kind of tend to stay in more like greener areas. And so for me to see them, to me, that's a sign from Allah to say, and I'm still here, I'm still with you. But of course, it's not going to be like a lightning strike on a clear day. Of course, it's not going to be this heavenly scroll that is sent by white doves. I know that that's obviously not what you're thinking of. I'm assuming that that's not what you're thinking of when you say he didn't respond, but sometimes it's the small things, but we are so quick to override it because it is part of our dunya still. You know, a butterfly is not out of the ordinary, neither is a dragonfly, but it's enough of a pattern interrupt in my day when I am aware for me to notice and to remember Allah and to know that Allah is remembering me, because He knows what I want to see. He knows the things that bring me that little bit of joy. And so that is the kind of signs that sometimes we have to be more aware of, more vigilant in, like, our noticing, where is Allah in my dunya? Where is He coming into my life and being like, I'm still here and I'm with you. And so when we are working on improving our relationship with Allah and moving closer to Allah, it is our responsibility to keep our eyes, you know, open, be aware look for the signs, because he is sending them, but he is not going to be as obvious as he was in the days of the prophets alayhim salam. Alayhi salam. When it's plural, is it alayhi salam? You can correct me in the comments for this one, please, because I'm a little unsure right now. Alayhum salam. I don't know. Correct me. Do tell me in the comments, inshallah. So I would absolutely recommend you to continue trying to get closer to Allah. He loves it when we move closer to him. And remember, when we take one step towards him, he runs at great speed towards us. So he has definitely moved closer towards you, but maybe your expectation of how he was going to come in was slightly askew. So I would recommend that you open your idea of what it would look like when Allah actually responds to you or comes closer to you, and make it sort of like a homework. I don't know, like make it a separate project for you to always see Allah in everything, and then all of a sudden you'll be so aware of how often Allah actually is communicating with every single one of us. Okay, next question, inshallah. I'm trying so many different things, but nothing is working. So now I don't know what to do. I'm trying to, so correct me if I'm wrong. If this is your question, feel free to send a message if I'm getting it wrong. But I'm assuming that you're trying so many different things within one thing, or that you're trying so many different things just in general life and nothing is working. So now you don't know what to do. So if we're saying like it's one thing and I'm trying so many different things and it's still not working, and at the same time, like, we're assuming that you've made the dua for this thing for it to work, and yet it's not working, so you don't know what to do. Number one, if you're trying, you know, for instance, you want to set up a business and you're trying a lot of different things and the business is just not coming to you very easily, sometimes it can help us to take a little step back, take a little break. You know, sometimes there's that saying, and I keep forgetting to look it up. We can't see the forest for all the trees, or something to that effect. We're so close to the thing that we're trying to do that sometimes we're so blinded by it. We can't see what we're doing wrong or what we could improve because we're so inundated with it. So sometimes if that is the case for you, I would actually recommend that you take a step back, you breathe for a minute, have a chance, give yourself a chance and a moment to focus on something completely different, and enjoy that, and do it for long enough for you to be able to kind of completely detach yourself from that thing, but not think about it too much, and then come back in and have a look at it, and then look at it not from like details, but look at it, get like an overview and be like, okay, what's actually going on here? And then you might be able to recognize certain things that you weren't able to recognize before because you were simply too close to the subject. So if that is the case, that is what I would recommend. Sometimes we're just too close to it, and because we're just, we're pushing so hard, but we're so in it, we sometimes don't recognize, if I just change this tiny little thing, oh my God, but I knew that. Yeah, of course you did. You're an intelligent person, I'm assuming. So you of course know what it is, but you're so close to the subject that you're kind of becoming blinded by it a little bit. So that's my first thing. And then, of course, continue to make dua for clarity and all of these things, okay? The second one, if that was not what you meant by the question, and if the question is that you're trying so many different things in life, but nothing is working, so now I don't know what to do, I would kind of say the same, except also stop trying so many things necessarily. Like, I don't know if you're doing it all at once, but if you're doing it all at once, stop trying everything at once. Focus on one thing at a time. Figure out if this is the thing that you want to do, and if it's not, then you can move on. Otherwise, if you're feeling like you're doing everything and you just don't know which direction you're going in, first of all, hi, welcome to the club. I'm the same kind of girly, and I just want to say, there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's like this societal norm that we have to do one thing, and we have, like, if I've studied one thing, then I have to do that for the rest of my life. If I've, worked in one industry for 1 year, I have to do it for at least 5 more or 10 more or whatever. So there's almost like this societal expectation that we can't, jump from one thing to the next. And of course you can. If you're enjoying it, have fun at it. If it's because you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to do and what you're passionate about, there's obviously like different outcomes that could be like that you're just a multi-passionate person, and that's okay. You know, go with it, enjoy that aspect of who you are, and stop judging yourself for trying out different things and enjoying that journey. But if it's because you're genuinely just trying to find your purpose, that's where I'm going to say again, a little bit like with the other example, is maybe it's time to take a step back and be like, okay, I'm going to stop trying everything for a minute, and I'm just going to do one thing and get enough distance where I can gain a little bit of clarity around, oh, I actually feel like I miss doing this. That thing I did then, this felt more aligned with me. That felt easier to me. This, some of those things are going to start coming up for you, and then it'll be easier for you to start narrowing down what it is that you genuinely want to do. But taking either a step back, if it's like a genuine, like I just really want to figure out what I need to do and finding out my purpose, and I'm not enjoying everything, I really want just one thing, take a step back. If it's that you're genuinely enjoying it, just embrace that part of you. Not everybody has that. I'm one of those girlies who love doing like 10 different things all at once, which is why I have a lot of things going all the time. And some people look at me and are like, I never know what Zara is doing. And I'm like, alhamdulillah, neither do I. And I'm enjoying it. It's so much fun for me. I love that sense of spontaneity and adventure in my own life. But not everybody enjoys that. Some people like more of that stability. So I'm not sure if I answered your question entirely there. Feel free to reach out to me if I didn't. But yeah, I'm hoping. Next question. Let's see how much time we got. Okay, we've got another about 10 minutes, and then I feel like we're probably going to stop for today's episode, inshallah. All right, another question. I believe in Allah's plan, but I need to get married. How can I contain this until I can fulfill it? Okay, so there's a lot going on in this question, and I'm going to try and as I see it as a coach, but I'm going to try and sort of break it down a little bit. So, alhamdulillah, you believe in Allah's plan. Now, if you've been consuming my podcast for some time, you may have heard me in the past say, if you say that sentence and it is followed with a but, there's some hesitation in that trust, okay? There's something within you that's not quite willing to surrender fully to that trust. Which means that there's a part of you that may still want to try and micromanage it. I trust, but. And so it's like, is that then trust? I'm not trying to come for you. I'm not trying to say something is wrong with your trust in Allah. A lot of us do this. So it's not like a you thing and shame on you. So please don't take it as such. But it's definitely something that we all need to sort of take into consideration when we're saying things like, I trust in Allah, but. And this is definitely something that I've had conversations about and mentioned in the past, so you may have come across some of my content where I speak on that. So that's just the first little thing. I'm just going to flag that a little bit for you to potentially work on there. And in order to work on that, you have to look at your relationship with Allah and your understanding of Allah, understanding of Allah's plan according to your plan, in relation to your plan, your expectations of Allah, who Allah is, so on and so forth. Okay, moving on to the next bit. So it goes, but I need to get married. And I find the word need here to be quite an interesting choice of word, because need is no longer just like a desire. I've got pen all over me. It's no longer just like a desire. I desire to get married. I would like to get married. This is like, I need to get married. So a need is almost like for my very survival. Okay. And so I would also work a little bit on that. I know I haven't even answered the actual question that you've asked me yet, but in order for me to get to that, we need to look at this first, and that is a genuine need. You need to look at that before you can look at the next bit. And in order to look at the second bit, well, in order to answer the second bit, the first bits here, the stuff that I'm going through with you now, is actually answering that for you, because the way that you have constructed the question puts a sense of urgency on it that is not from Allah, but is only from you and your expectations. And listen, we all have that, but it is not necessary for it to be there. You have created this in your mind yourself, which is why now you feel like you can't contain it. Right? So you're like, how can I contain it until it's fulfilled? You can contain it by understanding what it is that you're trying to contain. And what you're trying to contain is your need to try and micromanage Allah's plan, because you trust in Allah's plan, but so there's a little lack of trust there. And then on top of that, you have made marriage a need for you. It is no longer something that could be a part of your rizq or could be a particular blessing that Allah wants to give you. It's a need. You have to have it, like you have to have air in your lungs. So do you see the way that the question has been constructed to begin with is already leading to the part of your question where it goes into say, how can I then contain it before I can fulfill it, or until I can fulfill it? And in order for you to be able to contain it, you first need to understand I would almost say, the pedestal that you have placed marriage upon, and what that in turn does for you mentally, and how it then creates something within you that makes it very difficult for you to even contain it. Okay, so how can you contain it? Look at how you think about marriage, and look at your trust in Allah in relation to your marriage. And if you haven't, for you who asked that question, or anybody else who feels the same way, remember that I did an episode on not too long ago, I feel like probably within the last 2 months or so. Please do go back and check, where, let me see if I can actually find it myself, by looking here on my phone, because I did do an episode where I talked about like a very ultimate surrendering, but around marriage. I think it was called something to the effect of, oh, I'm so sorry. It's literally called What If You Never Get Married? So if you feel the same way, or you who asked the question, go listen to my podcast episode, What If You Never Get Married? And sit with some of the questions that I ask in that podcast episode, because that will help you with some of the things on how you can break down this for yourself and understand the pedestal that you're placing marriage on in your life. Okay, I feel like maybe one more question, but I'm gonna do this one because I think I can do that a little bit quicker. Oh my God, that other one is also good. Again, we're going to do another Q&A or Ask Me Anything at a different time. So, you know what, I'm going to do this one first, and then the next one, the ones that I haven't done. I've got another 2 questions outside of this one, but they feel a little bit bigger, and I feel like I need to explain a little bit more. So this one, why do we need law of attraction when we have dua, tawakkul, etc.? We don't need law of attraction. That's a very simple answer to the question. We don't need it. However, as a law of attraction coach, Muslim law of attraction coach, I have discovered that there is a lot of talk around law of attraction. And as somebody who's had a genuine, long-standing interest in law of attraction and a lot of the universal laws that accompany it, I have discovered a couple of things. Number one, any of these theories without Islam can lead to shirk. That's the first one, and we don't want to go down that way. So as somebody who's not interested in any of my fellow brothers and sisters potentially partaking in something that is shirk if they can avoid it, and I feel like I have a duty to explain some of these things, which is why it's very important for me to teach law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, which means to bring law of attraction back into Islam, you know. My belief is that law of attraction is from Allah. Allah created law of attraction. He created the universal laws, which means that all of it is by Allah's creation, but we as Muslims know it as different words. I'm going to say things, and I know some people might get offended, but I don't know how else to say it. White man theory calls it law of attraction. We call dua, tawakkul. We have these words for it, but it's the mainstream sort of wording, and that is what most Muslims will know it as. And so what I'm trying to do is direct it back to Islam, so that none of you inadvertently commit shirk by following something that is just hugely mainstream and popularized by someone using different words. The second thing is, there is nothing in the law of attraction from the Islamic perspective that isn't in the Quran. And that's the one thing that when I understood that as somebody who was chasing mainstream law of attraction for years and years and years before I became a Muslim myself, before I reverted, I should say, and never understanding it, my thing was, the moment I had Islam, law of attraction made sense, because why? Allah. Allah is the reason that it made sense. And so again, I feel like I have a duty as someone who understands the concepts and the theories and knows how to apply them and stay within the halal sphere and keeping coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not the universe or the archangels or something like that. It is my duty to help others not get swayed by mainstream and continuously come back, inshallah, to Islam and to Allah. And that is why, quote unquote, we need, which again, we don't need law of attraction, but why I feel like there is a need for me to keep making content around law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, because there is a genuine huge interest within the Muslim community in law of attraction. And so to make sure that I can make sure that those people don't potentially go and commit shirk, if I can help just a handful of those people, alhamdulillah, I think I've helped a few more than that. But if I can do that by using terms like law of attraction, but getting them on the right path, which is Islam, then alhamdulillah, that is all I want to do. But yeah, we don't need law of attraction. We need Islam. We need Allah. But in order to reach a specific demographic and teach them, hey, by the way, just to let you know, asking the universe, it's actually so much better if you just make a dua. Same thing, but much better, because you're not committing shirk. And the one that gives you is the same, even though you want to in one call it the universe. We're not even going to get into all of that, but like, hey, let's not call it the universe because it's Allah. It's shirk to kind of place the universe and Allah in the same category. So let's just halalify it, okay? Let's make it halal. Let's make it tayyib. We're not out here trying to lure people into other things. And I'm just going to end actually on a little call to action for you guys. If you are wondering the same thing about law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, and you're thinking, how do these two combine? What do you mean law of attraction from an Islamic perspective? Grab a copy of my book, Manifesting Muslimah, Law of Attraction from an Islamic Perspective, or The Muslimah's Guide to Law of Attraction. It is in my Stan Store, so it's linked in my Stan Store, and check it out for yourself. It is all explained in there, and in that book there's also that the 7 steps to use law of attraction from an Islamic perspective. And let me tell you one thing very, very quickly, there is nothing in there that talks about asking the universe or the fae folk or Bigfoot. It all is about coming back to Allah and creating a beautiful relationship with Allah where you understand your free will and Allah's plan. So if that is something that you're interested in and you still have questions about it, go get yourself a copy of my book and get those answers for you there. All right, my darling, for those of you whose questions I haven't answered in this episode, inshallah, I will do another one of these Q&As maybe in a month from now. So please stay patient with me. Thank you to everybody who asked me a question. I genuinely appreciate you so much. And I'm hoping, inshallah, next time I do, you will come with another bunch of amazing questions like this round. And yeah, I just appreciate you and I love you, and I will see you inshallah in next week's episode. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.